Okay, hello everyone, and welcome to the Men's Health Roundtable with Public Allies. Tonight, I am your host, Jacob Lethbridge, and tonight's virtual roundtable, we have brought together experts in men's health from around the world. November is not just about prostate and testicular cancer, it's also about men's overall health and well-being, both mentally and physically. Here at Public Allies, we do our best to support the most vulnerable people in society by hosting webinars and roundtables just like this to spread awareness about perspectives, information, and different ways of healing. My name, like I said earlier, is Jacob Lethbridge, and I am your host for tonight. I'm a motivational speaker, author, and host of the Authentically Inspired podcast, and I am beyond excited to introduce our guest for tonight. Starting off, we have Tim Peterson. Tim, if you want to just give a quick wave, I'm sure they can see you down there with your name there. But Tim Peterson is an integrative health and nutrition coach, a CrossFit coach, and owner of Spartan Obstacle Course racer and coach, and a keto and intermittent fasting coach. But more importantly, he's a single dad striving to not only add years to his life, but life to his years. Ooh, I like that. He works with men, dads, and families in knowing what to do and what to eat to lose weight to get healthy. He also works on creating multi-generational health to stop lifestyle diseases in their tracks. So welcome, Tim. Super happy to have you here. Next up, we're going to move over to Anthony. And Anthony is on my right-hand side of the screen. I'm sure you can see him. Anthony, give a wave to everyone if you please.
Hey, everybody.
Anthony Frisina is a born and raised Hamiltonian. Same with me. We're both in the same area. He's also the founder of Above and Beyond. And the founder of Above and Beyond, he brings his own lived experience with spina bifida and I'm going to say this wrong, but hydrocephalus?
Hydrocephalus, yeah.
Into the work he does to make communities more accessible and more access aware and inclusive. Above and Beyond started out as an opportunity to produce a TV show on local cable of some of the name to amplify messaging and accessibility and inclusion. He has gone on to author his memoir, acting, speaking, coaching, and consulting on accessibility and inclusion to various businesses, communities, and stakeholders alike. He is a 2014 alumni distinction member at Mohawk College and a 2020 member of the Order of Hamilton. And a cool thing to mention too about Anthony that I also just found out, he is also been voted one of 2021's most inspirational men in Motivate magazine, along with me, which is awesome. So congratulations on that, Anthony. And last but certainly not least is the man from down under, Vince Warnock. Vince Warnock is an award-winning business and marketing strategist, coach, and host of the Chasing the Insights podcast, an ex-radio announcer with over 20 years in marketing. Vince has been recognized by his peers with numerous awards, including being named a Fearless 50, a program designed by Adobe to recognize the top 50 marketers in the world who drive bold, fearless marketing and digital transformation. Personally, previously the CMO at Cigna, Vince has founded multiple companies, including the Chasing the Insights Academy, where he empowers entrepreneurs and business owners to make sense of marketing and grow the business they have always dreamed of. So welcome, Vince. Welcome everyone to this amazing opportunity to speak and talk about men's health. If you would each like to give a little spiel, feel free. We'll start with Anthony because he's to the right of my screen.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Jacob. I'm pleased to be here on behalf of Above and Beyond, bridging the gap to accessibility and inclusion. As you mentioned, I do identify as a member of the disability community, and I'm always looking at ways to amplify my health and well-being of members of my local community and now people around the world when it comes to accessibility and inclusion, and within my overall health as well, and the health of the members of the disability community. So I'm grateful to be here and looking forward to the opportunity.
Awesome. We'll move over to you, Tim, if you have any starting words.
Awesome. Yeah. So as a marketing professional in my previous life, I had to go through a midlife crisis a little early. I couldn't afford the car. So, I had to go ahead and, get rid of the wife and restructure my life. And what I realized going through that process that there weren't a lot of resources for men as we went through those things. And everyone, the movies and TV represent men going through a divorce as out there and partying and having a great time. And when you get into these men groups, you realize that 98% of us are curled up in a corner, having lost our identity and not knowing where to go, what to do, and how we're supposed to move forward. And there's not those groups to support us. And if you don't know how to take care of your body, and you don't know how to work on your mindset, you're falling into deep depression. And then you're dealing with kids all on your own and dealing with pressures and things all on your own. So being able to move into this space as a marketer, but now as someone who has gone through that, who has taken on health and nutrition and working out and found that community and that tribe by being in CrossFit, by having guys to work out with and a family to really find that connection with, has been such a great motivation and inspiration for me. And I'm just excited to be able to bring that not only in my local community, but to the world. And it's an awesome thing. I talked about multi-generational health. What's happened is I have a lot of guys in their 40s, 50s, and 60s who I'm helping, and now they're helping their kids eat better and lose weight. And what's happening is that those ages are now the sandwich generation. They're also having to take care of their parents. So I have guys now who are going back home to help take care of their parents, and they're helping their parents lose weight and get healthy in their 80s and 90s. So that's been really, really exciting to see. So multi-generational health is something that we're focused on now as well.
That's awesome, Tim. And I feel like that's something that we definitely all need, especially since we're all sitting at home for the most part, stuck because of COVID and, putting on those COVID-20 instead of dropping them. So with that, we'll move on to Vince. If you want to give us a quick introduction to who you are besides what your bio said.
Wow. I just love the fact we go from the back of, adding 20 pounds during lockdown to, hey, Vince. So I'm feeling very unfit next to Tim, I can tell you that.
We didn't say, speaking of gaining 20 pounds.
Yeah.
So
Now, look, I'm really excited to be here, Jacob. I think this is an incredibly important topic. As someone who's been top of my game in multiple different industries and burnt out in many, many different industries as well. Someone who's hit the wall. And the way I put it is I'm just a constant hot mess, but I'm surviving and noticing that most of the people around me are hot messes, but we never talk about these things. And we don't talk about health. We particularly don't talk about mental health enough. And I think it's something that's really important. I'm an advocate in New Zealand for mental health. I am a huge supporter of a lot of the mental health initiatives here, including some anti-suicide programs, which, I grew up in an environment. I grew up in poverty and abuse. I grew up in an environment where we had a group of 12 of us at college. There's 3 of us left alive. 2 of them lost their life to natural causes. The rest took their life. So that was what childhood was like for me and growing up in that environment. So this is incredibly important. And so I'm very, very honored to be here.
That's crazy. Yeah. I'm really happy to have all of you here. This is such a power team of people to talk about men's health. And I'm really glad that you're all here. As we move into the first question, I'm going to throw it over to Tim, and I'm going to do random picking for each of you for the questions. That way we kind of spice it up a little bit. You never know when you're going to answer the question first, but basically you're all going to have a chance to answer each question and have it just an open and honest discussion. I'm just here to moderate it. So the first question, Tim, when we talk about men's health and we say men's health, what would you say first comes to mind? And what are some of the concerns that you think maybe men face that are often overlooked?
All right. So when I think about men's health, what I think about right now is slow death. And that might not be what you expected me to say, but when you look at the statistics out there, obesity is the epidemic that is killing everyone. COVID was just a secondary response to what's already been happening to our populations worldwide. All right, that's what we have to realize, that this is a pandemic of an epidemic of inflammation and insulin resistance and obesity. And so when I think about men's health and where it's going, unfortunately, it's going down the tubes. At one point, someone said, why at your age would you even think about getting into the health industry? There's so many of those big pumped up, muscle guys online and they're everywhere. I'm like, you know what? I can go to the mall. I can go to any store and I can show you, depending how long we're there, but within an hour, I can probably show you 60 people or more that could use my help right now as we speak, probably more. And so it's a world, and it's an existence of misinformation. So all of the food companies, what we have to understand, every single one of them is in it for profit. They're all trying to make money, and they may start out with good intentions, and you see the good, healthy things, and then they get bought up. And then what happens is, I've seen Clorox buy up Burt's Bees, and it was a healthy, wonderful company, and now Clorox owns it, and you start seeing the things in those, the chemicals start being added to the products. There's some amazing products that Coca-Cola bought up and PepsiCo have bought up, and those things become watered down, and no longer they have that brand of being healthy because of before. So when you think about, like, say, Vince will understand this, being in the marketing world, when a lot of us think of Volvo, we're still thinking of those tank cars from way back that were the safest cars in the world. And I hear about, they were always branded as being so amazingly safe. And I hear Volvo, and I still think that. They haven't said anything about safety in like 2 decades. I don't know if they're still a safe car or not, but because of that branding they did. So that's what's happened to a lot of this. A lot of us in our heads think cereal is part of a nutritious breakfast. No. It's causing ADD in all our kids. They're going to school full of sugar. They have a crash. They go into class totally excited and crazy and won't shut up. And then all of a sudden they're falling asleep. And the teacher's sending home notes saying there's something wrong with your kid. And people don't understand that it's that nutritious breakfast. And the only thing nutritious in that picture was probably, if there was a newspaper, that was probably the most nutritious thing in that picture of that nutritious breakfast. So it's understanding that, there's so much that we have to learn. We have to look at every label. We have to take it on ourselves, and we can't trust any label. Anything that says healthy, has a heart health on it, I'm sorry, we have to understand it ourselves. We have to work with people. We have to get in groups online to understand that, so that when I think of men's health, I'm not thinking of slow death anymore. And that's where we are right now.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I used to be someone who ate like breakfast cereal all the time, because I was like, oh, this is definitely healthy.
I gave it to my kids. I was trying to kill my kids, and I didn't even realize it.
Oh,
Here,
no.
have some Cheerios, and I'll have some too.
Oh man. And now I can't even eat it. Like, I found out like I was gluten intolerant, and like now it's like looking at that cereal, it's like, there's no way I can eat that stuff anymore. And just looking at the amount of sugar that comes in, like even like the recommended serving is like ridiculous, like if you actually read the labels, it's crazy what goes into it. And now I've kind of adopted the method, if I can't pronounce or understand what it is in it, I don't eat it.
Like you just eliminated 90% of any grocery store right there.
Yeah,
right?
I know. And it's getting increasingly more difficult to find something to eat. I'll throw the question over your way next, Vince. What would you say when we say men's health, what comes to mind for you?
I mean, the first image that came to mind when you see Men's Health is Men's Health magazine. And basically it was just unrealistic expectations. It was the 6-pack abs that, Tim was talking about. It was all those things that even in my peak of fitness, and I'm definitely not fit these days, but in my younger days, I used to train in martial arts every day, every single night, and I would be training with these guys that have muscles that literally doctors would walk in and go, oh, that's how that muscle is structured. Oh, thank you. They were so defined, and I would never have the 6-pack abs. So it was always this unrealistic expectation, and there's a lot of shame involved in that as well. And this is a side of men's health we don't talk about, but actually a large portion of men have body image issues, including myself. It's something that I've struggled with for a long time, is comparing myself to other people, worrying about what I look like, worrying about, how people perceive me and things like that as well. So for me, it is that unrealistic expectation, but then it's all the hidden stuff. And men's health for me is all the things that we don't like to talk about because there's shame and embarrassment behind it as well. Particularly as you get older, everything starts to fall apart, I've discovered. So yeah, there's a lot of things where you're like, well, that doesn't work quite as well as I like my eyesight. Honestly, even staring at the screen now, I have amazing eyesight at a distance. Yeah, I don't want to admit that I have to wear the glasses because they give me a headache, but it's like, but this is the way it is. So, and we should be free to be able to talk about this kind of stuff. So yeah, for me, it is all of the taboo topics that we're ashamed to talk about, that we're worried to talk about, but we should be talking about, because the moment that we realize we're not alone, the moment we realize that this is quite normal and we can openly help each other with these kind of things, I think we're going to start to see a change.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I mean, there's nothing wrong with wearing glasses. Come on, Vince. We all got them. You're the only one who's missing out here. We'll throw in some FOMO for you.
I'm old. Yeah.
Well,
All right,
Tim's busting out the multi-pair.
Oh, would you look at that? It's not on brand, but never mind.
Yeah. That's all right. It's all good. And I agree, you know, like growing up, I was someone who had an unhealthy amount of body issues. You know, I was always that kid that was like, I remember in like grade 8, I was like 170 pounds, and, you know, I was like the most unhealthy person in the class, and it wasn't good. And it, as a result, you know, I got made fun of a lot, and like it kind of tracked throughout high school until I actually joined my Navy SEAL program, where I actually started to get in shape and, you know, work on myself. But that always kind of stuck in there, you know, like those body issues. And you're right. It's something.
It doesn't go away.
Ahead,
it doesn't. Yeah, I'm sorry. It doesn't go away. It's something that's always there. I was the skinny kid. I was the opposite. And then I had, you know, moments where I was going and getting the dad bod. But being the skinny kid on the other side is like, I was being made fun of because I was this little tiny skinny kid. Well, I wasn't tiny, but I was tall and skinny. I couldn't do pull-ups. It's, you know, even skinny, I didn't have abs. And, you know, it sticks with you. And in my mind now, I go back to being that skinny kid. Like it's just ingrained in you, and it's a shame. Yeah.
Yeah. It's wild the way that, you know, those kind of experiences can shape us for the rest of our lives and kind of keep those thoughts in there. It's wild that happens. Right. Lastly, Anthony, I'll throw it over to you. Same question. When we talk about men's health, what's the first thing that comes to your mind?
Well, the first thing that comes to my mind, and listening to Vince and Tim speak, also is about balance. You know, balancing our work life, professional lives, personal lives, and keeping our health altogether in check. I know I'm, you know, in the same boat with, you know, balancing my health as a member of the disability community. My upper body compensates for what my lower body can't do. I do use a wheelchair to get from point A to point B. So the upper body does maintain a fair amount of a look to it. But I know in the same portion that because of what my upper body is doing, it's compensating again for what my lower body can't do. So I think for me, it's always been about getting together and focusing on what I can do to continue to grow my mental health and physical health and emotional health all together as one, and keeping that alignment and working on a routine to help me stabilize within the condition that I have with spina bifida, because I also undergo a lot of pain. I have a lot of discomfort all the time, and I never know when it's going to happen. So I have to be on alert and aware to minimize the feelings of pain and discomfort that I have to be able to live the quality of life that I want to live going forward. And by the same token, I want to be able to even live a better life than what I currently live right now, because, you know, I too have body image issues that, you know, I'm trying to overcome as well, mentally, physically, emotionally, physically, that tend to take over my mind. So I'm just trying to put it all together and making sure that, you know, I can live the best quality of life that I choose to live.
Yeah. Cool, man. Yeah,
that's really empowering. And I like that you brought up the fact that a big portion of this is mental, because, you know, our worst enemy is our own mind, right? Like if we get something in our heads and we continuously go over and over again, and we have those body issues because we think, oh man, like if I eat this, I'm going to get really fat, or if I eat this, I'm going to get really skinny. And then we say, okay, I've been eating ice cream for the past week. Am I going to put on an extra 20 pounds? And then that self-doubt starts creeping in. You go, okay, well, maybe I am fatter than I look. Maybe I need to exercise more. And then you get in this whole cycle, right? And I'm guilty. I'm someone who eats ice cream almost every day. I mean, I know it's not good. And Tim, you're probably going to hate me for it. But, you know, that's my one weakness. My one weakness is ice cream. But I think mental health is something that's huge. And for each of us, I'm going to open up the room a little bit, so whoever wants to speak to this can. When you think about, mental health and kind of overcoming those barriers to, the way we think, what would your biggest advice be to someone who maybe is stuck in that kind of negativity thought cycle?
Simply put, get help. Like, talk to people. It's one of the biggest things for me. Like, I've constantly dealt with, I deal with anxiety, I deal with depression and things, but one of the things that's really affected me through my whole life is this concept of imposter syndrome. It's constantly comparing myself to other people, feeling like I don't deserve to be where I am, even at the height of some of my achievements. Like I said in the intro, getting recognized by Adobe as one of the top 50 marketers in the world. When you're standing on stage with all of the people that you look up to in the industry and you're going, holy crap, I don't deserve to be here. And I genuinely at one point was worried that they were going to turn around and went, oh, we meant the other Vince Warnock. There's somehow some other Vince Warnock out there, In fact, it was so surreal because they had only chosen the top 25 in the program. They had them there as keynotes for this conference. And they said, like, these are our 25, from the Fearless 50. And they said, but we really want to highlight 3 of those. And this is how my brain worked. The 3 that they were highlighting were their contribution to the industry. And the first one was all the way from New Zealand. And I'm going, wow, another Kiwi. That's awesome. Then I look at the screen and I see this giant photo of myself. And my brain didn't even process it. My brain looked at it and went, that guy looks so much like me. And then when my name came up on the screen, my brain just went, whoa, he's got the same name as me. Like, it couldn't process that was me. And I couldn't get, it was just bizarre. And so dealing with imposter syndrome has been something where it's a challenge, but more of a challenge. It's something where you sabotage yourself. And I've seen this time and time again in my past. And it wasn't until I got called out. I published my first book. We had a book launch because someone said, don't do book launches. No one does book launches anymore. And I'm like, hold my beer. I'm a marketer. Come on. Hold my, healthy water thing there, Tim.
You can have a light beer. I'll give you a light beer.
Yeah. So around this event, and it was amazing. We had 100 people there. They were there to support. They were there to show I had some of my peers fly over from Australia for the launch. It was incredible, especially as a high extrovert. I should have been in my element. But something happened there. I could justify in my mind to sign copies of books, right? I was like, okay, if I go to a book launch, that's what I want. Even though it seems weird to me, they would want my autograph. I'm barely an average karaoke singer. I mean, come on, people. But I could justify it in my mind. So I bought myself a fancy pen. I was like, this is going to be awesome. I would sign the books for them. But every time I handed them the book, someone would say something along the lines of, I can't wait to read this. And the moment I heard that, I started to knot up on the inside. I left there that night with so many different conversations swirling around my brain. They were, who do you think you are? What makes you think you'll have the right to write a book? What makes you think anyone will want to hear what you have to say? Or Vince, they're going to start reading the book and think, what an amateur. And just all of the self-doubt kicked in. And then I made the decision. It was a terrible decision. I said, I'm going to sabotage myself. I didn't think of it that way, but I just said, I'm done talking about my book. I feel uncomfortable with this. I don't want that. I don't want the attention that it's getting me. So the next day I rang Forbes, CIO Magazine, and Diginomica, who were all going to write big profiles on me in the book, and said to them all, look, I'm flattered, but the reality is I'm way too busy because I was chief marketing officer, and I was really, really busy, but it was a lie because I could have made the time to do that. But it wasn't until 2 weeks afterwards where one of my mentors called me up out of the blue, and he's the type of mentor that never calls, right? You've got to book time with him. And he called me up and he said, look, just checking in on you, Vince, seeing how you're doing, what's going on, how's the book sales going? Told him, he was like, oh, that's really, really good, but I haven't seen any press out there. I haven't seen any social media. You've gone dark. What's going on? I said, just relying on word of mouth. I talked it up. I'm just relying on word of mouth. I'm so busy at the moment. All these things. And he goes, yeah, I'm going to call BS on that. And this was a mentor who is an 8 times best-selling author. And I'm talking, New York Times best-selling author. And he just said, I want to tell you what I go through every single time I publish a book. And he just basically outlined the exact process I just went through. The moment he did that, the moment somebody reached out to me and we openly talked about what I was struggling with, and we openly talked about this, it had a profound impact on me. It made me realize I'm not alone. I'm not crazy. This is, we won't say the word normal, but it's kind of normal, everybody goes through these kind of doubts and these kind of things. And it made me address it. And it also made me do something different, which is I thought I need to take some action. So next day I drafted up this big LinkedIn post. I talked about exactly the story I just told you guys. I talked about exactly what I've been through. And then I said, at the bottom of the article, I said, now I'm going to take action. I'm going to tell you, if you're a marketer and entrepreneur, you need to buy this book because it's a damn good book. I know it is because it's the methods that I've used to get where I am, and I'm crushing it, you know. Plus, also, I've put my blood, sweat, and tears into this book. At the end of that post, I put it out there. I had 2 results. One of them was a massive spike in sales, which, by the way, was awesome. I was like, yes. So that was really cool. But the other one was a flooded inbox, and it was everybody saying, same, me too. I can't believe I felt like you were telling my story when you wrote that. And then I realized so many of us go through this, but we keep quiet because we're ashamed, we're fearful. And yet, actually, if we're all, and it was one of the revelations I had is, if 72%, so the research says between 72 and 78, depending on which research paper you read, percent of human beings deal with imposter syndrome, right? So if that's the fact, and then you break it down by genre, so you break it down by entrepreneurs, for example, then forget about it. It's like 99% with 1% being the sociopath. So, you know, we don't really, they can go do their own thing. So if 99% of entrepreneurs are dealing with imposter syndrome, that means any scenario you're in where you're feeling like, I don't deserve to be here, I don't belong, chances are the other people in that room are feeling the exact same thing as you. Which means if we're all going through the same thing, we should be able to talk about it, but it also means you've got as much right to be there as everybody else.
Yeah, totally agree with that. And imposter syndrome is something that I feel like you said, a lot of people deal with, and like especially with social media coming in. We're scrolling Instagram, we're seeing all these people with the 6-pack abs, like Tim and
and Anthony,
yeah,
just not me. Thanks.
No, I don't have them yet either. But it's something that affects a lot of people, and it's something like you said, reach out, get that help. The
funniest thing, Jacob, is one of my clients. I did a class on it one day. I was talking about imposter syndrome, and one of my clients said, "I'm one of the rare ones that have never had to deal with imposter syndrome." And I went, "Really?" She goes, "Yeah, no, I've never suffered from this at all in my life. I'm actually a relatively confident person." I went, "Okay, let's talk about your pricing." She went, "Oh, you dick." She realized her pricing was going down because of self-doubt, which of course came from imposter syndrome. So even when you think you don't have it, chances are you're dealing with it at some point.
Yeah, totally agree with that.
Yeah.
I'm going to move on to our next question here, and I'm going to shoot this one over to you first, Anthony. When you think, what are some certain health conditions that are stigmatized, and why do you think men speak up about those issues?
Well, I think a lot of the men's health conditions are, to think about how we are, with our mental health, with our prostates and our conditions, type of cancers that, that men have and go through, testicular as well. And, having to be proactive and taking the approach to make sure that we get the help that we need, as Vince alluded to earlier, about being cautious of when we have a warning sign, so to speak, when we first see that, and to get the help that we need. I think it's important that we all understand that, our health above and beyond is anything, or is of the most importance. So when we face that alert, or we get that alert that something may be wrong, I think we need to be active and assertive in the way we seek help. And speaking to what Vince talked about earlier, that it's okay to talk about it. It's okay to talk amongst our peers and our friends, to have that support system and that support group that we all need to be our healthiest and our best selves.
Yep, totally agree with that. Like, reach out for help if you need it. Tim, I'm going to pass the same question over to you. Certain health conditions that you feel are stigmatized, and why you think men speak up about those issues?
So I think the problem is really going back to not is preventative, is working on those things. So we don't have preventative health. We don't have preventative health. We actually don't even have health care. We have medicine care. And by the time men need help, something has gone so far down the road. By the time someone has diabetes, there's so much that's happened in their body that they can never come back from. And so it's really transitioning that conversation from medical care and medical conditions and things that are stigmatized, and pulling back about how everything is so related to that, our own health and basic health and our mental health as well. I mean, mental health is so stigmatized, so, such a bad word. Men don't want to talk about it. Men want to, I'm fine. I'm not going to ask about it. And what Vince was saying, how, the other V word that is so important besides Vince is the word vulnerability. And, if you don't have someone who, on your side, like Vince did, who called him out on his BS, it's finding that strength inside to be vulnerable and to either ask for that help. And I think yeah. So, I mean, if I would have to say, it's what stigmatizes us being weak. It's a bad thing to be weak and to be vulnerable. And the thing is, that's where our power is being vulnerable. So in the marketing world, when your success that day, Vince, was because you were vulnerable and you spoke out. And your book sales went crazy. Anthony, you talk about your vulnerability and how, your disability and like you are a star. It's not defining you, but you've used that to as a platform to help, thousands, if not millions of other people with disabilities and make that aware. I mean, you have opened my eyes to so many different things with disabilities. Same. So it's taking that and totally switching that and letting that vulnerability take us to that next level. And guys, I'm going to throw this out there, reach out to men around you. If you've not heard from a buddy that you used to talk to all the time, it's not because he's doing great. It's because he needs freaking help. And I've had that happen so many times. Like, hey, I haven't heard from you in a while. I was like, yeah, I've been dark, man. I've been dark. I'm glad you reached out because, it's been bad. And thanks for calling me. And I'm like, oh my God, why didn't I call like a month ago when I was like thinking about this guy? I've had friends and I've called them up and I'm like, Dad, I haven't heard from you in a while. You haven't been at the gym. What's going on? It's like, well, yeah, I'm on my 3rd round of chemo. Like, oh my God. Like, what? Wait, what? If you haven't heard from someone, reach out, And there was a funny joke when COVID happened, like introverts reach out to your extrovert friends. They are not okay.
Yeah.
They're not doing okay in all this. So,
and on behalf of all extroverts, that was 100% true. Yeah.
So, as men, we need to, be vulnerable. We need to reach out. We need to say, hey, dude, how's it going? Are you okay? So, yeah.
We have to accept the fact that it's okay to not be okay.
Right.
Yeah. 100%, man. Yeah. I think we need to reframe vulnerability as well, because we do see, I mean, it's kind of built into us, this whole tribal mentality of we never want to be the weakest in the tribe because, in olden times, back long, well, probably when I was a kid, in olden times, if you were the weakest in your tribe, you were expunged, you were gone, and you would have to fend for yourself and you would die as a result. So all of us want to be included. All of us want to be part of that tribe. So we don't like showing that weakness in case of judgment. But that means we frame vulnerability as being weakness when in actual fact, vulnerability is the ultimate strength. Because if you have the courage to be able to share what is perceived to be a weakness, you share that thing that you're vulnerable with, then that is you being that confident, or at least perceived to be that confident that you're sharing. I still remember I did a Facebook Live with my group talking about vulnerability and how you bring it into your messaging and your marketing and things, and how important it is. But it happened to be also on International No Pants Day. So I did the whole live talking to them about vulnerability. And then I was like, right, despite body image issues and things like that, I'm just going to grab a drink from my thing, stood up my boxer shorts, went over there. And people are still talking about that because it was hilarious and they were mocking me. But also because vulnerability is really powerful. It helps to create a connection with people. As entrepreneurs, it is our superpower. And yet we're afraid to do it with our health. We're afraid to show that vulnerability. So I don't know about you guys, but I hate needles, man. Like, honestly, needles get the crap out of me. I wish it didn't because it seems so childish, but I feel sick when I'm around needles. And I went and got a blood test done. And I'm like, oh, and I told the woman, I said, I'm not good with this. And she goes, yeah. And I was like, oh, feeling terrible. And I was so anxious. And I got up and I left. And as I was leaving, I had a little plaster on my arm and that. As I was leaving out of one of the other rooms where they do the blood tests, came this guy who was like 6'5". He was a big Pacific Islander. He came out there and he had tears running down his face. And he goes, I hate needles. And I'm like, brother. Like, honestly, I just wanted to give him a big hug. I was like, I've never felt more connected to someone so immediately because I'm like, you get what I've just been through. So imagine we can be open with people and find that kind of connection. It's powerful, man.
Yeah,
definitely.
Totally agree. Totally agree with that kind of stuff. And I hate needles too. I'm like the same. I'm the same. I go into like the doctor's office, which I don't like going into anyway.
Yeah.
And they're like, yep, we're going to have to send you for blood work. It's like, no, you're going to take vials and it's going to be beside me. And I'm going to like, nope. I put headphones in. I'm like, I don't want to see it. Just tell me when it's done and I'll be on my way.
That's why, our government was going, just go get vaccinated. It's simple. It's simple. It's needles. Like, seriously. I don't mind the vaccination. Hate the needles. Like, what's wrong with you?
Is there a pill I can take?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Oh, man. I guess you kind of already talked about it, but I'm going to give you the opportunity as well, Vince, just to talk about if you think there's any health conditions that you feel are stigmatized and why you think men don't speak up about them.
One of the ones that's stigmatized is prostate. I don't think that's a stigmatism. It's just nobody likes getting the prostate exam done. So, because I'm like, you're not getting near there. I'm just saying, right? So nobody wants to get that. But I think part of it is we don't like, particularly as you're getting older. Like, I'm 50 now, and you look at your younger self, you look at how fit you were, you look at how much energy you had, you look at how your body worked and could do anything, you grab a bottle of beer and rip it open with your teeth. Now I could eat a marshmallow and my teeth will fall out, so what's going on here? But because of that, you don't want to admit this, because to admit that means you can't be that image of yourself that you liked from back then, or you can't compare yourself to those people and things. So there's a part of me that I think that's the reason why these things are so stigmatized, is because we just don't want to admit that. We don't want to show that weakness. I mean, everybody wants to feel attractive. That's just natural. Everyone wants to feel like, you can walk down the street and maybe turn a few heads and things like that. But reality is very different from that. And we don't want to admit it, So I think that's part of it. But I think they're not speaking up about the issues is because there is this sense that you are on this journey on your own a lot of times. And I know with a number of the mental health issues that I've had, a number of things I've struggled with, I've always felt in those moments like I'm alone. I still remember my first anxiety attack. I was on the way to work. It was early-ish in the morning, but, about 7 a.m. or so. And I was on my way to work and I was walking across this bridge, and all of a sudden I thought, I'm dying. I can't breathe. I'm having a heart attack. This is not cool. I genuinely felt like I was this was it. This is the end. So I couldn't breathe fully. So I rang my doctor. I knew he'd be in the surgery, in the doctor's surgery. So I rang him up and I said, look, I'm having a heart attack. And he goes, okay, calm down. And I said, you can't tell me calm down. I'm having a heart attack. And he goes, okay, describe it. And I said, well, I can't take a full breath in. Every time I breathe, it's nothing. I feel like I'm going to pass out. And he goes, okay, well, first of all, you're not having a heart attack, Vince. It's just an anxiety attack. And the moment he said just an anxiety attack, I felt at ease, because immediately I was stuck in the spiral thinking I'm going to die, which made me more stressed, etc. And then he said, look, don't go into work. Come up to the thing. I'll come see me. And I said, yeah. And I got up there. And that was a catalyst for me, not only talking about mental health, but actually making the decision to leave my job. Because he said to me, he goes, do you have stress in your workplace? I said, yeah, of course. I work, therefore I have stress. I mean, isn't that the way the world works? And he went, you do realize you can actually enjoy what you do. And I went, what? I felt like he was talking Latin. And I was like, I don't understand. He said, you can enjoy what you do. And going back to the office with that lens, that was the thing that made me really look at things differently. Look at it was a really abusive environment I was in the workplace. Just worked with some really toxic people as it was then. And you're looking at that going, wait a minute, I don't actually have to put up with that. Okay. So yeah. So I think the reason we stigmatize this, the reason we don't speak up about it, is that fear we are alone and that we're going to get judged for that. But actually it's the complete opposite. The moment you speak about it, you're going to find your tribe. You're going to find a whole pile of people that go, me too. They'll fill up your DMs. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, depression is one of the biggest, it's a killer of men, and the suicide rates for men, it's odd. I'm not hearing a lot of what the numbers are. I think somehow they're squelching these numbers because of COVID. But I mean, mental health, that's what was going on with the mental health people. Like that, you had the hospitals and the doctors worried about what was happening in the hospitals. You had the mental health professionals going, this is not gonna end well. And you've had, you had guys losing their jobs. You've had, losing that, what made them as the breadwinner, if you want to go that far with it. And I know the suicide rates when, 10 years from now, when they start, going back and looking at the numbers, are going to be through the roof. It's like one of the top 3 killers of men. Yeah. So talking about depression and being able to understand it. I mean, when we don't talk about it, people don't know what the signs are. And you just think that you're having a bad day, and like it's just, and the world's crap, and my life is crap, and I'm crap, and it's just a spiral, and you don't realize, wait, this is something that I can get help on. Yeah. And one of the things that for me was so helpful and probably stopped me from going into that cycle, that they've done research that endorphins are the strongest antidepressant than any drug. So endorphins come when you work out, and when you work out to a point of like exhaustion. Guess what happens in CrossFit every single workout? You're like on the ground. And the reason why I kept going back was I was addicted. I was addicted to those endorphins, and I would lay there and I'm like, it's going to come. I'm going to feel good in a minute. I'm going to feel good. And it would, all of a sudden I'd have this rush and I feel freaking amazing. And I didn't put two and two together, but just going out and getting physical, finding that tribe within. So I'm, if people can hate CrossFit because it's dangerous and whatever you want to call it, but it is one of the best tribal communities out there. You can go in there and just, everything is scalable. I happen to own a CrossFit. Okay. Everything is scalable. Anthony, we could work with you. Vince, we could work with you. Jacob, we'll put your ice cream down, take it away from you, and we can work with you. Okay.
You've immediately lost Jacob. Yeah.
But the thing is that you find your tribe. At the end of it, you have all gone through this workout together, and you will talk about that workout for a week saying, God, what's Tuesday's workout? That was a bitch, wasn't it? You're like, yeah, that was awful. I have this workout. I did a Spartan race 2 years ago, and it's coming up this weekend in the Carolinas. And there's two things I said I would never, and I had at that point had just started doing Spartan races. Spartan races are obstacle course races. You run, you do obstacles. This was a beast. It was 14 miles. It's literally called the Beast. And I said, I will not do these when it's raining, because you can't hold on to any of the obstacles and you're going to fail. And it's such a defeatist thing. And I'm not going to do it in the cold because there's water involved. I don't like cold water. I'm not going to do that. Well, guess what was happening that weekend? It was raining and it was freaking cold. Okay. And we spent over 6 hours. They were pulling people off the course for hypothermia. We at one point went in at 40 degrees. We were completely submerged in water and coming back out again. And then we had to run 2 more miles. My friends and I that did that, like we are bonded, like we went through war together. Like we came back and like, God, remember that work? Remember that? Oh man, remember Mill Spring? And man, I got some PTSD. Like we go through that and that just bonded us together. So going through that, and I do that every time I do a workout. I've got 6, 8, 12 people, and like we have bonded and gone through something. So, sorry, long story there, but the thing is to find that tribe, whether it's Orange Theory, whether it's a gym, but just going to the gym isn't enough. It's getting the heart rate up, getting yourself pushed to that point that you're going to get that endorphin rush. It's better than Prozac. It's better than any other drug. Any other drug. Duke did the study. Look it up. Endorphins are the best antidepressant you can possibly get. So if you're feeling like crap, feels like the world is spiraling, you feel that tightness in your chest, like Vince says, it's not a heart attack. It's anxiety. It's depression that's coming in. Go work out. Go work out. Find a CrossFit. Tell them Tim sent you. Won't mean a thing. But just tell them Tim sent you. Eventually it will.
Well, Jacob and I are in Canada, Tim. 40 degrees is nothing.
I know. I'm from Florida. I'm originally from Florida, so it was a big thing for me. I mean, I had like layers and gloves, and
Just to your point, Tim, around suicide rates and things like that. It's the same here. We actually have one of the highest suicide rates with men and with youth in the world here in New Zealand, despite the fact that on paper this is one of the most beautiful countries. We have one of the best healthcare systems, education systems, all of this, and yet we have this high suicide rate. But part of the challenge we had, to go back to the talking about it aspect, is there is this kind of mantra amongst a lot of the district health boards and a lot of the different bodies that look after hospitals and things, where they don't want to talk about suicide because there's this fear that because we don't know enough about suicide, really, we don't know what the complete triggers are because it's all individual. Therefore, if we talk about it, someone might go, oh, that's a good idea, and somehow do it. Yeah. And we saw this in New Zealand where it was a taboo topic. Even the press weren't allowed to talk about it. If someone took their own life, it was just, they used code in there to say There was no suspicious circumstance. You were never allowed to say on TV or on that it was about suicide, and you weren't even allowed to show shows which had suicide on them. And unfortunately, we ended up in a situation there where the rates were going through the roof. And one of our comedians, Mike King, he's a really cool guy. I know him well. He started this Fight for Life campaign, which again, goes down the endorphins. So you would box, but the idea was it was to talk about and bring light onto suicide rates. And it was going gangbusters. And so many people were starting to talk about this and getting the help that they need. And then we got a new district health board head in who went, no, we don't talk about suicides. We're pulling funding from all of these kind of things. And it broke so many people's hearts. And yeah, funny enough, we're seeing an increase in suicides. It's not rocket science, it's data, So yeah, frustrating.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
And it's touched everybody. It's
Yep.
we all know somebody, and it was never, it's not been in my immediate family, in my ex family, in-laws, my kids, their cousin took his life, and to just at 19 years old, and to think that he at 19 thought things weren't fixable, and that we live in a world where a 19-year-old would think that, and that the help wasn't there. And his parent, he said, I know, Mom and Dad, I know you love me. The mom was a therapist, so it's not like it's society has created such a someone's saying that the big question, why is it a taboo to talk about suicide? And Vince is absolutely right, where they do fear. And what happens in schools, there is statistics around that. Their fear is that when someone takes their life, like a lot of times there's another suicide attempt. It happens on campuses here. I'm around a lot of colleges, and it is true that it does. There is a triggering point to that. But if we talked about suicide before it happened, that might not be the trigger anymore. So let's reverse, like the whole thing about our health is, we're having a heart attack. Well, let's go back 10 years and start eating right and working on our health. Then that heart attack won't be happening. So that's the issue. And Aisha, thank you for that question. That's such that is why is it taboo? And here we are talking about it right now, Aisha. This is us talking about it. Let's get out there and stop that stigmatization of suicide.
And I just wanted to add, when it comes to disability, part of the condition that I have, the hydrocephalus part of it, translates to water on the brain. And that is controlled by a shunt, which is from the brain down to the lower intestine. And if that shunt goes, it's a very time-sensitive operation that requires me to get to the emergency within a time frame that allows me to get the revision done so I can be the best version of myself. So mentally, I'm also thinking about, what if this happens? I have a contingency plan in place to, when that happens, to alleviate that. But I remember there was this time when I was 25 years old. I was living at home at the time with my family. My shunt went, and I completely went into oblivion. I had no idea what was going on. It was a Saturday. I was watching the hockey game, Leafs versus Florida Panthers. Next thing I knew, it was a Tuesday before I actually came to. So, and within that time frame, I literally thought that I was gone. I was hearing voices in my head. I was hearing crying. I was hearing everything that said to me, okay, this is my time and I'm done. And, I thought I, did the best that I could for the first 25 years of my life. But then again, it wasn't my time to go. So, after coming to on that Tuesday and, evolving from that condition and growing from that, I immediately made a promise to myself that, my mental health and my structure and my being and my physical health, my mental health and my emotional health, I was going to do everything in my power to be in control of that rather than let it control me.
Yeah.
That's awesome, man.
Wow. Yeah. Powerful, man. Thank you for sharing that. Thanks for being vulnerable.
Thank you, Anthony. It just, all this talk about, depression, mental health, and even talking about suicide makes me think back to in my last job. I remember there was a young man who came in. He was probably, he's maybe a little bit older than me. Maybe he's like mid 30s. And he came in and he came up to my wicket because I was a bank teller. And he said, today I'm going to kill myself. I had no idea how to respond to that. Like it's not something they teach you. Like if someone comes up to you and says, after I'm finished here, I'm going to go kill myself. What do you do in that kind of a situation? And for me, I had been studying personal development for years. Thankfully, like if I believe the universe works in wonderful ways and is always for your good. So he came to my wicket for a purpose, and that's what I believe. And as we started talking, I talked to him as long as I could to kind of do my best to convince him out of it. And, I just started asking, like, why do you feel that you need to take your life? Like, why do you feel like everything is going wrong? And he said, my wife, she left me. She's been cheating on me. She took all my money, and that was the story. And, like I'm back to using drugs. And I said, okay, like, man, like women will come and go. That's what it is. Women will come and go. Maybe she didn't love you to begin with. I don't know your situation, but there's a better thing coming. Two, you can always make more money. Money's there. It circulates. It's there. Just because you don't have it right now doesn't mean you won't have it in the future. And I said, man, look, there's been 3 times in my life so far where I've pulled out the bank statement and it's read zeros right across the bottom. And, I always found the money. I didn't know how to make rent. Doesn't matter. I found the money in some way. And as far as him thinking about going back to using drugs, I'm not someone who's ever used any drugs. And I said, man, that's not the way that you're going to get out of this cycle. If anything, it might make you feel worse. It might give you that temporary high where you feel great, but in the end, it might make you feel worse and get you back into that negative cycle. So what I recommended is a book. I said, read. I can't remember what book it was now, but I feel like it had to be a John Maxwell book or something, because I usually carry one of those around with me. And I said, man, just take this book and read it. And if you don't feel like this has changed your life, then maybe I'll never see you again. And, a month went by and I was thinking, oh man, like whatever happened to this guy? Like I haven't seen him in a while. Another month went by, I haven't seen him. And then after about 3 months, he came back in. And I said, man, it's so good to see you. And he said, Jake, that book saved my life that day. And I thought, awesome. Oh man, like, if this isn't my purpose to like help people, then I don't know what is. And, thinking back to, this depression and suicide, there is that help out there. And even him just having the strength to come up and tell me that took courage. Yeah. You might see it, you maybe not see it that way, but that took courage to come up. That was a cry for help.
Absolutely. Wow. Yeah. Goosebumps, man. Goosebumps. Like,
yeah. And, it's just crazy that we all can be affected by that, by someone. We Absolutely. All know, like Tim, like you were saying, like your cousin, like that he knows someone. And, Vince talking about all those people, all your childhood friends who have dealt with suicide, and, Anthony dealing with that, life-threatening issue with that. I can't say the word. I don't know.
Hydrocephalus. You're gonna come on. You can do it, Jacob. You can do
it. Hydrocephalus. It started as a chant,
And Anthony, to let you know, in my dad's elder years, he actually developed that and had to have the shunt put in. And the only reason the doctor, he lost his legs. I mean, he could barely walk. And the doctor just said he was just getting old. And my mom saw a commercial done by like Johnson & Johnson for this shunt on like late night, programming and commercials, and went back to the doctor and like, these are his symptoms. And they put it in, and sure enough, he walked out after they had done that. So yeah, it's not something. It's like something that can develop later in life, and so being aware of that. So one of the things that comes back to me, and it was very powerful for me as I went through, the being down. I say I was depressed, and that was beginning depression. I mean, I was never like debilitated, and thank goodness for CrossFit and these things. For me, was focusing out. And when you take that moment, yes, I'm having a crap day, but what can I do to make someone else feel good? And whether it's a random act of kindness, whether it's buying a coffee for someone, whether it's sending a note to someone saying, hey, I saw your book launch, Vince, and what an awesome book. And I hope it's going great. And let's have some coffee sometime. And just putting out into the universe this positivity, positive energy, it's amazing what it does for you.
Yeah.
And, I tell my daughter this. I have a teenager right now. She's 16 years old. It's a very vulnerable age and stage.
Yep.
And fortunately, she goes to it's a very open school. And, right now there's all this gender and fluidity and all these things that are happening. It's a very open school and a very open community. But, she'll come home and say, oh, someone said I had beautiful hair, or someone told me I don't even know them. And they told me I look nice today. And I'm like, please tell me you are doing and you are being that same person. Because look how that made you feel. Some random act and some random comment from someone you don't know. Please tell me that you are that person as well. She said, oh, I do that all the time. I'm like, that's why it's coming back to you.
Yeah.
Because if you are that person, it's going to come back to you. And, I constantly remind her, every time I drop her off, I'm like, say something nice to somebody today. Make someone smile today.
Yeah. I literally put it in my calendar, Tim. I have, like, seriously, once a week, I've got a slot in my calendar, which I just go through my contacts and just remind them that I'm super grateful that we're connected, remind them how awesome they are. And I had no idea the effect that was having on people. So I started getting some of the replies back, and you're like, oh, and then it becomes addictive, by the way, because you get that rush of that awesome feeling when you realize you've impacted someone's life, and then you're like, this is amazing. So yeah, highly recommend people put it in their calendar. And it goes back to your thing, Tim, of just sometimes just making sure you're reaching out to people, because sometimes they just need help. They're just afraid to. I noticed one of my peers was, she went silent for like about a week, which for her, by the way, is really silent. So I reached out and just said, are you okay? Haven't seen you on social, haven't seen you anywhere. You on holiday? She replied, I'm okay. Which in her, translating her words means, please help, I'm not okay at all. So I just bombarded her with cheesy jokes and everything to try and get her onto a Zoom call. Finally convinced her to get her on a Zoom call, and she had spiraled bad. And being able to pick her up out of that, it's formed a bondship between the two of us, where we now peer coach each other. And because I go into those spirals as well. I deal with depression relatively regularly, so actually having someone that can notice that and pick you up and pull you out of that at the same time is really helpful. So yeah, definitely schedule the time.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I have that. Every time I have chosen not to date right now. I am happily single, and I spend my time with my 16-year-old because I know my days are numbered with her, as far as, she's going to be off to college and she's going to have a boyfriend. She's got, she'll be on my weekend and she's off with friends or a sleepover. And there's those days when she's not here. Like tonight is a night she's not here. I don't have her again until I do have her this weekend. And it can be dark for me. I still get that very lonely feeling, and I have to focus out. I have to, plan something nice for when she gets back, buy some flowers and put them in her room, call a friend up, go out. I mean, I will go out a lot to eat. I mean, I have amazing food in my house all the time.
Yeah.
And I just don't want to be alone. I will call up friends. Hey, it's sushi night. Tonight's a sushi night. And hopefully they're getting the idea that, like, okay, Tim needs help.
Well, they will after this. Yeah. Sushi night's code. Yeah.
Yeah, that's my code. So if I ever call anybody, if you ever see sushi, I had great sushi last night, you can know that, okay, he had issues last night. So, and then it's that is having that code with your friends, that they understand, like, hey, we need to get sushi, hey, I need to get a drink. Not that I drink, but it's like I need that social hour, because I get like a Michelob Ultra, which isn't really beer, so I'm not out drinking.
I used to have a colleague that would come up to me because we were in a really stressful environment, and she would walk up and she'd stand at my desk and she'd go, I'm waiting for it, and I'm like, is there one more? And then she go, and how many sides she did was how many ciders we had to have at lunch, because she was just feeling crap. So we go, it's a 2-cider day or it's a 3-cider day. But yeah, it was all relative to how she was feeling.
Yeah, those were her red flags, so it's knowing the red flags of the people around you.
Yeah, I'd just like to say, by the way, alcohol is not a great substitute for mental health and things, but it was hilarious. Yeah.
Here's the disclaimer for tonight.
Yeah.
I think from my point of view, gratitude and positivity, stemmed for me from the upbringing that I had as a member of the disability community. And, when I had another surgery when I was 12 years old, it was part and parcel to individuals with spina bifida, where I had cysts removed from my spine. And before the surgery, I was walking, mind you, with the use of a cane, a limp, crutches, and a walker, and what have you. But this surgery in 1992 had a success rate of 40%. But I knew that the surgery was mandatory and needed to be done. And I was going to be okay. I was going to be positive. I was going to be grateful regardless of the outcome that occurred. During the surgery, one of the cysts actually popped. And it became too invasive and too hard to remove a lot of the particles along the spinal cord to alleviate some of the pressure. So thereon after the surgery, I began a 3-month rehabilitation program to alter the life living now using a wheelchair for the rest of my life. But the gratitude and the opportunities that I had prior to being a wheelchair user to now help me amplify the message of, it's okay because you have a disability, that it doesn't hinder you as a person. Disability doesn't define me. And, that was something that I had to come to grips with mentally. And now with Above and Beyond, with what I do, I have a lot of networking in my community and communities around the world. And one of the biggest, most passionate parts of what I do is I get to talk to a lot of kids. I take part in activities with a lot of kids. And I had this one young lady come up to me a few years ago and said, "Thank you. I want to be like you when I grow up." And I said, "No, you don't want to be like me when you grow up. You want to be the best version of yourself and continue to grow who you are and who you are meant to be in this world. Don't let the disability define you. Don't let a negative stereotype or a stigma on disability define you. You are the best version of yourself, and you will continue to be the best version of yourself."
Nice.
Yeah,
I love that.
Awesome.
Awesome. Gratitude is such a huge part of, turning your life around. And I remember when I first came out of university and out of college, I was, like a deer in the headlights. I didn't know what I was going to do, but I was so hopeful that I was going to get a job. And then I didn't. For the first 3 years of coming out of college, that like they sell you the dream, like, yep, you're going to get this piece of paper that you spend exorbitant amounts of money on, and you're going to have a great high paying job. And that was not the truth. It didn't happen at all. And I got into a really deep state of depression. And, it was only through discovering, personal growth, personal development materials, and cultivating gratitude for what I had that I really started to make the difference in my own life and started to see where that happened. And especially, as many of you probably know, like my son passed away in 2016. And that was, probably the worst thing a parent could ever have to go through.
Wow.
And gratitude is what helped get me through that.
Wow.
Having that depression, even when that came, and understanding that, okay, the pain is temporary, but I cannot let this destroy my life, and I can't let it bring me down. I have to find the gratitude. I have to find that seed of an equivalent benefit in this desperate and terrorizing time. But with that, guys, I want to give you each an opportunity to promote yourselves, to have that opportunity to say, hey, I am here. I am, making it. I've gone through the struggles. I've come out the other side. And, if anyone wants to get in contact with you, how can they do that? So I'm going to go around the room. We'll start with you, Vince, and then we'll go to Tim, and then we'll finish off with Anthony, and then we'll call it a night.
Awesome. Look, I make it real easy to get in touch with me. Just go to chasingtheinsights.com. You'll see links to all the social media on there. Reach out to me and do connect by social. Unless you're a spammer, I don't really connect with spammers, but if you're not a spammer, I love meeting new people. And also I love helping people as well. So genuinely, I do a free strategy call on my website. You'll see a link there to book some time with me. So if you need help with marketing, but also if you need help with some of the mindset stuff we've talked about in here, you need some help with dealing with imposter syndrome, you need some help with that self-doubt, with actually showing up and being confident in things, then do reach out, book some time with me. I'd love to have a conversation with you.
Awesome.
Awesome. Well, Vince, I'm going to call you because I love our chats. We've talked on some networking stuff before, and we always connect, and I love it.
Totally, man. Yeah.
I want to throw out just a couple of, like, if I would wrap up tonight in like some single words: tribe, gratitude, endorphins, CrossFit.
Yeah. Always flying the banner. Yeah.
So I those were definitely the key things for me tonight. I am Dad Bod Warrior all over social. So Instagram, I'm Dad Bod Warrior, and you can link with me there. On Facebook, I'm Dad Bod Warrior. I have a 40-day program that's going to be launching January 5th. It's something that I ran last year. It was very successful. We continued it throughout the year. It's something that we go through 40 days and you can start at any point. And we have weekly calls and accountability calls. And those were amazing for people. We changed men's lives and it's still carrying on and going on now. So that's going to be happening. So yeah, just on the socials, I'm Dad Bod Warrior, and love to help you out. If you got men's health issues, please reach out to me. Love to help you out if you're dealing with blood sugar issues, or any other health issue. I'd love to biohack it with you and figure out how we can get you on the other side of it.
Awesome. Thanks, Tim. Anthony, over to you.
Yeah, and thank you guys very much for having me here tonight. And yeah, I'm available at info@anthonyfrisina.ca and www.anthonyfrisina.ca. And I too am happy to help amplify the importance of messaging when it comes to accessibility, awareness, and inclusion from a structural, tangible, or an intangible perspective, because I think it's also important to educate and alleviate the barriers and the stigma behind access and inclusion. So I'm available on all social medias as well, which are available on my website. And I'm happy to discuss that with you guys further. And as an aside, Jacob and I are actually hanging out tomorrow night for a bit, because we're close by with one another. So that'd be cool too.
Better bring the ice cream, Anthony. You better bring the ice cream.
Oh, we're going to McDonald's.
Yeah.
Oh no.
He's getting the McFlurry.
I was going to say, this is secretly where all of us don't want to admit that we're really glad we're not near Tim, because otherwise we'd be doing CrossFit tomorrow. So.
Exactly. Burpees, guys, burpees.
Hey, don't worry,
Jacob,
I'll be getting my tea.
Jacob, I know you're trying to close this out, but I want to respect the chat that came in.
Yes.
How do you choose your tribe or know they are right group for you? That is an awesome question, Ashley. I would say just keep trying. You know, just you got to put yourself out there, and it depends what's your thing. There's meetup.com, and it's worldwide. There's all kinds of groups there. There's Facebook groups. I would just say, start looking at the things that interest you. If you're a wine drinker, if you're a book drinker, a book reader, if you knit or crochet, or you're a biker, or you're, whatever it is, a runner, there are tribes for all of you and all of us. So I would say you got to throw yourself out there, Ashley. You can do all of that as an introvert. You can do it all online and figure it out. And yes, it does get emotionally draining sometimes, but the thing is that there's a payoff in the end. Yeah. Okay. It's emotionally draining because you're not in that tribe, and you're not gaining that you're not getting that energy from it yet. So, put a feeler out, a week and see how it goes. It's kind of like dating, but it's better than dating, I think. I mean, dating really sucks. I think finding
it totally is like dating. Yeah.
The payoff is so great. So keep trying.
Just to answer something Ashley said there too. How do you know it's the right group for you? It really is kind of how you feel when you're there. In other words, if you feel like you can be yourself, if you feel like you're not competing with anyone, then you're potentially in the right space. If you feel like you have to hide yourself, if you feel like you leave there not feeling lifted up, not feeling encouraged, not feeling empowered, not feeling inspired, keep looking. It is difficult. It is like dating. You've got to keep going till you find the right one. But trust me, when you find the right tribe, it is unbelievably cool. Yeah.
Absolutely. And being in this group here with these fine gentlemen here tonight simply has helped us be more vulnerable and connect with one another on more personal levels. So thank you guys very much.
Yeah. I just love the fact we fooled everyone. They're looking at the panel going, what is this, like the sexiest men in the world panel, or what's going on here? No, it's mental health, people, and physical health. Yeah,
I got to cool off a bit now, Vince. Oh.
Yeah.
I am in my boxers below the waist, so
just don't stand up, Vince. Just don't stand up, please.
I've stayed in my seat all night. I will stay here.
Yeah. Until is it National Pants or No Pants Day today?
Always, every day is. Every day is.
To be fair, with COVID, it's every day. Yeah.
Yeah, truth. Yeah. Ashley just said, I feel people pretend at times to be cool and understanding, but are not. Thanks for the suggestion. Yeah, Ashley, if I can quickly speak to that, I feel like if you go on social media, almost everyone is being pretend and something they're not. Yeah. You see the Instagram posts with people standing beside the Lamborghini. Guess what? They probably just went to the dealership and took a picture outside with it. They don't necessarily always have that. Yes, a lot of people do have those nice cars, and good for them. But here's the thing, going back to even choosing your tribe. I remember back when I first joined Toastmasters, I was terrified. Okay. Toastmasters, for those of you who don't know, public speaking, getting out there, building a connection with people who also want to just improve public speaking and even just gain friendship. The first few times I went to it, I just observed. And I feel like that's a good thing to do when you're first kind of dabbling and kind of finding your tribe and seeing if it's something worth going to. Just observe and listen and kind of take everything in and make that decision, trust that gut feeling. And I feel like that's something a lot of people don't do, is trust their gut feeling. Like if you feel like this isn't right for you, then leave. When people are trying to pretend to be cool and understanding, but they're not, I get that. I have an ex-friend of mine who used to do that all the time, and cutting the cord with those people is what you got to do. You don't need that kind of negativity in your life. You don't need those people who are trying to be something they're not to try and impress somebody else whose opinion probably doesn't even matter of you. You get it? Like, the most important person in your life is you. And you have to understand that if you don't take care of you, no one else is going to.
We go back to CrossFit. When you're in CrossFit, you're sweaty on the ground, and you know, if there's a woman, your makeup is running. If you're a guy, maybe your makeup is running too. Whatever, it's hard to be fake at that point. So actually go to CrossFit. That's my answer to everything. Go to CrossFit, get some sweat.
I'm not sure of this. This is going to be an assumption here, but I think it's a hypothesis. Tim goes to CrossFit. I know it's crazy, but yeah.
I was there.
He doesn't
twice
just
today.
go to it. He owns the CrossFit.
Definitely.
Okay, guys.
Thank you,
that,
Jacob. Thank you, Jacob.
Yes, thank all
Jacob.
of you. I want to thank each and every one of you. Anthony, I appreciate you being here. Tim, I appreciate you being here. Vince, I appreciate you being here. Guys, if anyone who's watching this, if you have any questions, maybe you're watching the replay, put them in. I'll make sure to tag whoever you want the comment to go to, and that way they can answer that question and follow up with you, because the conversation doesn't just end here. All of the guys' descriptions.
Let's keep it going.
Yeah, absolutely.
All of the guys' socials are in the description of this video below. That way you can connect with them, and honestly connect with them. They're all great guys. I've connected with them all in different ways. Like Anthony, I found out through Clubhouse that he lives in the same city as me. Same Tim, I connected with him, I believe, through Clubhouse as well. Or no, through Wendy. Wendy connected us.
Yeah.
And Vince, I don't remember how we connected, but we connected somehow. And then I did the discovery call with Vince. And since that, I've been in connection with him back and forth. We help each other out, and it's amazing. So you really don't know the amount of connection that you can have with people around the world if you don't put yourself out there, if you don't ask for that help, and if you don't get it when you need it. So guys, with that, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
For any of you watching, I appreciate you. I value you. And with that, I will see you in the next roundtable. Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.